Now we're going to talk about MVPs, or minimum viable product. An MVP is just enough features to get early adopters excited. And after you launch an MVP, you'll get a ton of feedback that will help you understand if you have product market fit and what areas you should invest in next. So one thing that's super important to keep in mind is even though it's called an MVP, it doesn't mean that the product should feel incomplete, unfinished, or unpolished. It's still very important to deliver a high quality experience to your users and invest in good design and reliability. Remember, think of an MVP as a starting point for your product to grow into something more. If you don't start off on good footing, users will abandon it before you have the chance to build out more functionality. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of MVPs. There's a lot of reasons why MVPs are helpful. They allow you to get the product to market fast, or much, much faster than if you'd built out the entire feature set. And by launching an early version of your product, you'll start to get signals if you have product market fit. And additionally, you will get lots of feedback from users that can help to inform what you should do next. And lastly, MVPs allow you to fail fast and learn. Because this is an iterative approach, you can respond to incoming feedback and course correct as necessary. Or, in worst case, abandon the product without having spent a lot of effort and time to build out the full product. So how do you go about creating an MVP? Well, you can use the business model canvas to help define your MVP by specifically looking at customers, the value proposition, channels that you have, and the relationships that you want to build with customers. This will help you to identify what's the right problem to solve and the right value proposition to create for your customers early on. In order to do this, though, you need to understand who are your users, and you need to give them a reason to use your product. Once you've formed the basis of your MVP, you'll want to compare it to other solutions in the market. Is it the same? How is it different? Why would a user choose it over a competing product? You'll want to make sure that you have a compelling answer here. Then, you'll also want to make sure that the MVP is aligned with business objectives. Do you have revenue targets? Do you need to launch by a certain date? Are you trying to attract new users? You need to make sure that your MVP is helping to meet the business objectives, whatever they are. Once you've done all these things, then it's time to break down the MVP into requirements. This is what will make it actionable for the team to execute against. And this is where you're going to start to detail what the product does and doesn't do in more detail. Usually this means writing a PRD. And again, remember, even though it's called minimum viable product, it still needs to be a complete product that users would be willing to pay for. It's really important to find the right balance in terms of what functionality to build and how complete the product feels. But keep in mind that an MVP, by definition, is only must-haves. And lastly, you'll want to identify KPIs. This will help you to understand how your product is doing overall. We'll talk a little bit more about KPIs in the next concept.